Well, hello, Texie88 here, and welcome to another overview video. This time I'm looking at something that arrived earlier this week. This is the limited edition 35th anniversary Ultra 4K HD and Blu-ray 35th anniversary Back to the Future trilogy Steelbook collection. This is actually the first time I've ever bought any 4K Ultra HD discs. In fact, although it comes with regular Blu-rays as well, although I don't actually have an Ultra 4K Ultra HD player yet, I do intend to get one fairly soon. Probably once I got Christmas out the way. But enough of that. Many people are familiar with the famous Back to the Future franchise. It's one of the most delightful and successful time travel and comedy trilogies of all time. All three of them directed by Robert Zemeckis, with a rousing musical score by Alan Silvestri. The first film turned Michael J. Fox into a bona fide star, and everything about the first film in particular just came together and is an absolute delight from start to finish, and it still entertains people to this day. And the fact that all of them are set in a specific time period means that they don't date the way a film that's, say, set in present day or says present day might do. So let's have a look inside. So here are the three steel books, and what is quite interesting is that there's actually a picture on one side of them which you can effectively join up a bit like this, which is fairly clever. The other sides are generally just stills from the film in question. Here's the one from the first film, which came out in 1985, and it's got some artwork on the inside sleeve as well. Here's the 4K Ultra HD disc, and there's the regular Blu-ray disc. In case you... No, it doesn't matter. And here's inside the second one. Oh, wrong side. Sorry. So the sequel came out in 1989. And almost all of the main cast from the first film came back on board, with most saying as long as Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale were involved, which they were, then they would. Claudia Wells, who played Marty's girlfriend in the first film, Marty being the character played by Michael J. Fox, she was supposed to be in it, but unfortunately she had to pull out after her mother became ill with cancer, so she was recast with Elizabeth Shue, who at the time was probably best known for not only starring alongside Tom Cruise in Cocktail a year earlier, or was it 2 years earlier? I think it might have been 1987, I'm not absolutely sure. And was also played the on-screen girlfriend of Ralph Macchio's character in the first of the Karate Kid films, which came out in 1984. I wouldn't say that Elizabeth Shue was ideal casting. I don't think there's quite the same chemistry between her and Fox that there was between Fox and Claudia Wells. It is a shame, but we don't plan who becomes ill and when, and we don't all plan to become ill, and we don't really have much control over when it happens at the best of times. So the other replacement is Crispin Glover, who played George McFly, Marty's father, in the first film. Got replaced by Jeffrey Weissman in this and the sequel. I'm not going to go into details. They're different stories, and I don't want to risk saying something that could potentially get me sued for slander. So but either way, there was some kind of incident that caused him to not be in the second and third film. So they unfortunately, the filmmakers unfortunately tried to hide that fact by having Weissman's either wearing lots of makeup to make him look very like Glover did, and to hang him upside down in the future scenes to make it even less obvious that it wasn't the same character, so the same actor. And that, coupled with the fact that they used some footage from the first film, as it turned out illegally, as Glover didn't actually grant permission to use his likeness outside of the first film. And that was a lawsuit that would change the way recasting was done from then onwards. The second film, it still has a lot to enjoy about it, although you do have to keep your wits about you, as there's more time travel in that film than there is in the other two combined, and it does have some convoluted storylines that might be a bit hard to swallow on first viewing. It's one that merits second subsequent viewing to fully digest what's happened at the best of times. But it still has some very clever things in it, especially considering the time that it was done and the fact that CGI was still very limited at the time. Well, it's the second one is my least favourite of the three, although that it's far from awful. It's still got a lot to enjoy about it, and Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Thomas F. Wilson, who are in all four of them, are still as much of a delight to watch as they ever were. Thomas F. Wilson playing the main antagonist in a film. In the first film, it was Biff. Second film, it was both Biff and his grandson Griff. Whom you see in the future scenes. And then here's the one for the third film, which came out in 1990. The second and third films are shot back to back. This one actually has a bonus disc in it as well, which is a pure Blu-ray. There's no 4K Ultra HD version of that disc. But as with the other two, there's a 4K Ultra HD disc and a regular Blu-ray. In the third one, they go back to the Wild West and see then developing Hill Valley, and I actually think that this third film wraps up the trilogy quite nicely. And I actually don't think there needs to be a reboot or remake or fourth one. All three of these films are classics in their own way, exactly as they are. And I very much doubt they could replicate the kind of chemistry that made these films so adored. I mean, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd make such a great on-screen team, and the way they react to one another and the comedy between them is what makes the films work so well. This is my second favourite out of the three, with the first one being my absolute favourite. Although in my opinion, I don't think the third film is that far behind the first one in terms of quality. I don't think it quite has the same urgency of the first film but what's there is still largely enjoyable, and the addition of Mary Steenburgen to the principal roles is also really enjoyable. I actually do think, despite everything, Christopher Lloyd and Mary Steenburgen have great chemistry together on screen, and when you see them at this festival near the middle of the film, and you just see this bit where there's no dialogue, and one just smiles at the other and then the other smiles back. It's just magic, and it just goes to show, never state what you can imply, and that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I have to admit, I think for the price I paid, I think that the price I paid was a bit steep. I mean, from what I remember, it was £74.99 for this whole set. I mean, I know that Ultra 4K HD is a bit expensive at the moment. It's still in its infancy, but I don't think what's in here is quite worth that much. I mean, I know that 20 that includes 20% VAT, value added tax, or VAT for short. For those in the United States, that's the closest we have to your sales tax, and on the vast majority of things, usually it's 20%. But these are classic films, and if you're a serious collector, then if you get the chance, then there are plenty of worse ways that you can have a collector's item, and you'll be getting 3 really great films in the process, especially if you haven't been exposed to the Back to the Future franchise before. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed watching. Texie88 out.